What's up guys, welcome to new Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. With the release of Unreal Engine 5.6, we've got a bunch of new templates that can kickstart your projects. So I decided to create a mini series where we'll take those templates, break them down, and customize them to build full games faster. In this third episode, we're diving into the platforming template. I will show you how to get started, what's included, and how to start making it your own. With that said, it's going to be a very easy to follow, so let's get started. Alright, so in order to use the new platforming template, we have to go into the Unreal Project browser, go into the game section, select the third person template, but select the platforming variant. And with that, you can just select a name and hit create. And this is it. As you can see, it's a very simple map, but effective because it shows all of the possible kind of jumps that you can do and all the obstacles that you could have in the game to kind of get you the vibe and feeling of what you can do with this template. Okay, now I want to mention that I already covered the first person shooter template and also the third person combat template in my previous two videos in this mini series, so if you want to check those out, the links will be available in the description. With that said, let's first of all hit play to actually see what is this template about, right? So let's go ahead and just press play, and as you can see, we got a simple third person movement, but the main thing are the jumps and the cool things that we can do. So first things first, we have a double jump with some trails. So if I jump and jump again, we get a double jump. But the thing, as you can see, is that we can jump very low or very high. Why? Well, because we have kind of a hold and jump mechanic, which is a bit more, interesting than the default third person template that only has a basic jump with basic force and that's it, right? This can be pretty cool. Apart from that, we obviously have different things that we can climb into. So I can also go here and jump in the wall, and we will do like a wall jump, which is super interesting, and you will see a bit later when we actually have like a sort of obstacle course to go through with wall jumps, and it's super cool. We can also go ahead and just kind of jump and then jump again to do a double jump holding in air. As you can see, I'm slowly doing all of the obstacle courses, which is pretty cool. We can jump again into here, and then we can start to do things like this and then jump again, or just go directly from here to here and then jump and then try to get into the other part. It's quite hard, not gonna lie. You have to kind of get the trick into it. There we go. But yeah, and yeah, the green kind of pads do not have any different mechanic or surface interaction. They're purely just to kind of guide you, which is quite interesting. So I could of course still double jump and everything on these regular walls, but the green ones are just kind of the ones that guide you through the map and through the obstacle course, which is quite interesting and really cool. Obviously you could only limit the wall jump to be on the green pads, and we will do that a bit later when I show you how to customize this template, which will be quite interesting. But let's go ahead and continue on. So obviously we have kind of a double jump thing and situation to do here, so we can just kind of start jumping and then start jumping and then hold. Let's try again. Yes, there we go. It's quite straightforward but pretty cool. We can, oh my god, I just fell again. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna of course be here like 30 minutes just playing the game, but I just want to show you the possibilities, and there we go, we're pretty much already here at the end. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and check out how this template is built. We're gonna go ahead and just break it down, so let's go to it. Alright, so first of all, in the content browser, as you can see, we have a couple of folders. The main one are the third person folder and the variant platform. Okay, those are the main folders, but let's begin with a basic third person folder. Okay, this third person folder is essentially the default third person character that we've all known since Unreal Engine 4. Okay, well, UE5 pretty much, right, with the new mannequins. But what I mean with that is that it doesn't have any jumps or anything. It is the basic controller of third person template. Okay, so in this blueprint in specific, we do not have any of the crazy dashes or kind of jumps. Okay, this is purely movement for a third-person character, okay? Also, I think I forgot, but we also have a dash when we press shift. We will also check that out too. I think I forgot actually. But anyway, so yeah, and here as you can see, we have simply the main movements to look around, to move, to jump. As you can see, there's not any double jump because, like I mentioned, it's another blueprint. And we have here on the event possess. So basically, when someone starts controlling the player, we go ahead and decide if we are on mobile, and if we are on mobile, we will add like a simple touchpad into the widget, and if not, use the mouse look. It's pretty straightforward. And then obviously we have the main movement to move around, and everything is organized in little functions. So now it is basically a bit more organized and neat from the start, which is quite cool. But anyway, let's go real quick to the viewport. We have the basic stuff, as we all know: the mesh, the camera view, and the full camera, and the character movement component, aka the third-person template that we all know. Just a bit more refactored with little functions, just a bit more organized, and that's pretty much it. So now let's actually go into the main part, into the actual platforming mechanics, which is under the variant platforming. Okay, now you will notice a similarity between the other templates, and it is the exact same thing. There is a main folder with a basic movement for first person or third person, and then the variant one, which is the actual variant that we selected on the drop down when we were on the browser, right? And this is where the fun starts. So let's open up the platforming character. This is the actual one that you saw when I played the game. Now, first of all, you will see one thing. The parent class is just simply character. It is not using the parent of third person blueprint. And they could actually have done this if they would have made this character, the platforming character, a child of this other third person character. All of the movement and looking and aiming and all that stuff would not be obligatory because it will already be inherited from the parent class. So I don't really know why they didn't go ahead and do this to kind of make it cleaner and have the main movement on one blueprint and then the rest of the unique mechanics in the specific platforming character. But hey, it is what it is. There's a couple reasons why, I guess. Probably it's just because they want to have more control over also movement. Because I mean, imagine that if you are dashing, your mouse gets quicker or whatever, right? Or it'll be a bit harder to hit from the parent. It will still be easy, but I guess it's just a bit more flexibility, right? One difference is that, for example, the first person shooter template does have the other blueprint as a child, which is quite cool. But anyway, let's go actually and check out the platforming character. So obviously we have exactly the same thing as in the other character, the mobile touchpad, and we also have the basic movement and camera. As you can see, the functions are exactly the same, but it is what I'm saying exactly. As you can see, we have like controls for extra stuff, like we can only move if we are not wall jumping, and this is why I'm getting into the point where it's probably not a child, if that makes sense. But anyway, we have some initialization. This is basically some trails for the trails. So yeah, we have some basically Niagara particles, which just have some trails on the feet. They're basically two components anchored into the parent sockets, and that's it. And the rest of the components are pretty much the same as always. So yeah, those are pretty much the only two new components in the viewport. But going back into the Venn graph, let's actually go ahead and check out the dashing and the jumps and that stuff, because actually it is very simple. They actually found a super clever way of just doing this stuff, and it's super easy to also modify, which we will do a bit later, okay? So first of all, dash input. Well, where are we getting this dash input from? Because as you can see, if we go, we don't have any place where we go ahead and add the IMC with a dash and so on. Well, that is because if I go back to the variant and open up the player controller, you can see that inside of the player controller, on the possess, which is basically when we start controlling this player, we add the platforming IMC. And the IMC, if you don't know, is just the collection of inputs available for that player. And in this case, we have jump, move, look, and dash, okay? So it's a bit different from the other one. We have just more things, and it's through the player controller instead of the character itself, just so that it's a bit more available in other actors as well. So going back into this, so you can see the dash is just the left shift, sorry. The look is just the gamepad or things like that. Move, WASD as always, jump, space. Like, it's fairly simple, right? So what happens when we press the dash input, which is the left shift, right? As you can see, when we dash, just to remember yourselves, we are just adding like a force forward with some trails and a cool animation, right? Nothing crazy, but it looks pretty cool. So first of all, we check if we are already dashed, right? If we are already dashing, because we cannot obviously dash like this, right? Kind of buggy. So we want to go ahead and control that. So if we are not, we go ahead and say, okay, has dashed true? Is dashing right now is true. So now we go ahead and check out the gravity scale and velocity. So we set the gravity to be 0 and the velocity to be 0, 0, 0. So basically we freeze the character in air. If I was to disable this and just jump and dash, as you can see, we literally freeze the character in air. That is because we are setting the gravity to 0 and the current velocity of the player to 0. Why are we doing this? Well, you will see in a second. Then we go ahead and activate the trails, which are the two components that I show you with our Sim Niagara. So we move them, they should move around, but they're probably disabled by default. So yeah, but you know, if we move them, they'll kind of move around when we press play. So you get my point. Right after that, we go ahead and play a montage, and this is where the actual movement happens. Yes, how can movement come from an animation? Well, through root motion. If you don't know what root motion is, let me show you. So obviously we're playing the dash montage, which is this one over here. It's pretty straightforward, just a simple A to B transition. Pretty cool, right? So what do I mean with root motion? Well, if I go into the original dash animation clip, which is this one, you will see that in the asset details, we have enabled root motion. If I was to disable this and press play and jump, as you can see, the character moved, but the actual actor itself didn't move. What I mean with that is that only the mesh is moving and then it goes back into position, not the whole actor is moving. But with root motion, we can actually drive this movement into the actual actor, and now we actually dash like it should. So that's why we are disabling gravity and velocity at the start, because we will not drive movement through those, we will do it instead through the animation, if that makes sense, which is this one. Cool. With that said, on interrupted, so when we kinda hit the ground or do something else, right, we set everything back to default. So the gravity back to 2.5, dashing falls, and then obviously if we are already on the ground, we will also say has dashed falls, and then we obviously deactivate the trails so we don't have them enabled while we walk. And that's it. That's literally it. We also have an end dash, so that we call on any animation montage that we want. So for example, on the land animation, we call this to stop it, things like that, you know. So it's fairly straightforward and pretty cool. So that's dash. Let's now see the jump, which is a bit more interesting. So first things first, we have the input action of jumping. Okay, very straightforward. What happens when we start pressing the jump key? Well, we call this function try multi-jump, and this, well, not function, sorry, event. This event essentially goes ahead and executes all the logic that it needs to find out if we need to double jump or just do jump once, or if we're gonna wall jump. Okay, so this event is pretty key in this blueprint. So what happens? Well, first of all, we check if we are not dashing. If we are not dashing, we can go ahead and do all the logic, because obviously we don't want to bug things out and we don't want to jump while we're dashing and things like that, right? So we want to go ahead and just continue. We are not dashing, so it's set to false. Now, are we currently grounded? So are we currently on air? If we are on air on this branch, we will say, okay, we want to go ahead and do the double jump. But if we are not on the air right now, that means that we simply want to do a single jump because we are on the ground. So that's when the false root comes in. We simply execute the jump function of the character from Unreal Engine. That's it. We cannot even open it up because this is just a basic C++ class from the template of third person. This is the jump as we all know it, okay, from all the third person templates, okay, so this is very straightforward. And then we obviously activate the trails for the jump, which is this one's over here. Cool, but what happens if we are on air? Well, that means that we wanna go ahead and double jump, possibly double jump. So what we do is check for two things. We check if there's a wall, and then we go ahead and just check, well, if there's no wall, we just simply double jump. That's it. So before going to the wall, let's go ahead and just check out the double jump on air. So we check, okay, has wall jumped? False. Okay, are we not on a wall? Well, in that case, we continue. Are we already double jumped? No. Okay, then we can double jump, because obviously we don't want to do more than one jump on the air. We want to only double jump, not triple jump or quadruple jump, if that makes sense. So that's why we have a boolean over here. So then we say, okay, true, jump, again, literally using the normal function, and then we activate once again the trails just in case. And then let's check out the other route, which is the wall. Well, have we already jumped through the wall? Through the wall? Okay, we haven't. So we do a sphere trace by channel. What is this? Well, it is an invisible line in a shape of a sphere that goes from one point to another to detect things. So if we were to put this for duration and jump again, you will see this little red circle, okay? This essentially detects this area, and if there's a wall, well, it will turn green, and we can then, as you can see, double jump. But if it's just on the air, it's basically red, so we are not detecting a wall, okay? We simply just get the location and the forward direction of the player, and just add a wall trace distance, which is 50, and then we can decide if we can jump or not based on this value here. So we have actually detected something, we do this stuff. If not, we don't do any double jump, you know? So what do we do first? Well, is basically orient the character's direction and rotation to one corresponding to the wall. So we just get the normal of the surface that we have landed on. And right after that, we add a little impulse. So this time it's different from just calling the jump function of Unreal. This time it's a bit more elaborated, because we want to add a different force, more into just forward in a different direction. So we do this little calculation here from the impact normal. The impact normal is just the surface direction, okay? And we just add some multipliers to launch it forward, and that's it. And obviously you can at any time modify these values to get the specific force that you want. And right after that, we just activate once again the trails, just in case we don't have them already. And then, well, we mark this as has wall jumped, so we don't do the other jump, double jump. And then after a delay, we disable this. That's it. Literally it. I mean, I can go here and double jump, and that's it, man. Literally it. So let's go ahead and just go back to the trace and put this for none, so we don't see the ugly spheres. And last but not least, we have a landing event that we can call it on any point. But yeah, nothing crazy. I don't wanna go too much in depth into that. But that's pretty much it. Obviously, we have a couple more things, but that's pretty much the basics of the variant. As you can see, there's pretty much not any more blueprints. There's just the basic trail VFX of Niagara, and that's it. The dash animation, and like already mentioned, the dash animation is just a simple root motion animation. Now we also have the notify, which is what I mentioned before, which is simply to go ahead and end the dash once we want to end the dash, and this is basically here. Okay, so here, end dash. When the character gets into this point over here, it will tell the blueprint, hey, we have finished dashing. That's through an animation notify, and an animation notify, as you saw, is a little blueprint that executes on a frame of an animation montage, which is quite convenient. Nice. So with that said, let's actually go ahead and see how we can slightly customize this to use this as a starting point to build your own games. As you can see, once we have broken the template down into pieces, it's quite straightforward and simple. So let's go ahead and, for example, make that we can only jump the wall on the green pads instead of the normal stuff. So what should we do? Well, first of all, we need to create a tag for the ones that we want to go ahead and jump on. So it is as simple as going to the actual mesh, going to the details panel, search for tag, and then adding a actor tag. Okay, so it affects the whole actor, not only the specific mesh component. And we can put this as you know, can wall jump, and that's how we can do it. Now obviously more conveniently, you would create an obstacle blueprint with already the tag on that blueprint, so you can just drag it in, and all of the obstacles that you drag in will automatically have the can wall jump tag. Okay, it's not very convenient to go to specific static meshes on the level and set the tags, but hey, this is how Epic set it up, so we can just do this real quick. But yeah, can wall jump. So we have a couple of things already with the can wall jump. For example, let's add it one more time here. Can wall jump. Cool. So now we have a couple of obstacles with the tag, but still obviously nothing happens. We can still jump on this part because we're not checking it on the blueprint. So let's open up the platforming character, and where do you think we will go? Obviously to the try multi-jump event, which is where we handle all the jumps. So if we are currently on the air, that means that we want to check out for the wall jump. So this is the first point here. Have we already jumped? Well, through the wall? No. Okay, so we can do this. So what do we have to do? Very simple. We get the hit actor, so the actor that we have hit, and we do hashtag. Okay, actor hashtag. If we have the actor hashtag can wall jump, that means that we can go ahead and do the jump. If not, we cannot do anything. So add a branch right after this. So if we have hit something and that actor that we have hit has the tag can wall jump, then we can do these stuff. Otherwise, we will not do anything. That's it. Now I go here, as you can see, we cannot do the wall jump. It is broken. But if we go here, I can now go ahead and perform the wall jump only on the new stuff. I cannot go here and do it, for example, so I can only do it here, which is quite cool. And I can do it in this one too. There we go. But for example, if we're here, I cannot do it. So it's quite cool. This is how you can start to do stuff. Now additionally, not only you can do it through tag, but you could also do it through a collision trace, which is a bit cooler. Why cooler? It's just cooler. So we can go to the edit price settings, and we can find the collision part over here, and what we can do is add a new trace channel. Okay, because we remember we did a trace channel, so we can just create a new channel, and this can be can wall jump, and the default response will be ignore. So by default, all the actors in the level will have this can wall jump trace to ignore, okay, because we want to have it disabled. Cool. So now if I go here and select this mesh, I could go to the collision settings, and you can see that we have collision presets. I can set this to custom, and now I can go to can wall jump and put this to the block. So that means that this static mesh over here has the trace can wall, I don't even know how to speak, can wall jump enabled, but this one, for example, doesn't. Okay, so now on the trace, what we can do is set, well, first of all, compile so it updates. Just do this, and then for the trace channel that we detect, we can put can wall jump instead. And then we obviously just want to disable the branch of the actor tag because we're using this collision system instead. So now in here, I cannot still do it. I cannot do it. But if I go here, I can do the wall jump because the collision channel is that one. Okay, so you have the option to do it through tag or the other stuff. That's basically it. And then obviously, what if we want to change the forces for the wall jumps? Well, we have the impulse here. We can put this to like 1500, and we can put the vertical impulse to like 1200, and we can go here and put the distance to also be a bit higher, so maybe like 70 instead of 50. So now we can basically wall jump, as you can see, with higher force, which is pretty cool. And about the default jump, as you can see, we don't have any force here, right? Well, you can just go to here, jump, and you will see the jump set velocity. We can put this to like 500, imagine, and now we also jump a bit faster and taller. We still have the parameter of holding the key, so just have that in mind. But yeah, And that's pretty much how you can start to customize everything and make your own game using this platforming template. If you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to my channel. If you're actually interested in learning Unreal Engine 5, check out my Patreon and Unreal Club. The link is in the description. You actually start learning Unreal. I have available all of my credit files from my 800 tutorials, private meetings. Like, you have access to a lot of cool stuff, so check that out. And now, yes, with all that said, bye bye.